Well, at least we didn't help the Vikings by beating the Eagles. So, suck it, Satan. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to Packer, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. Sorry, I just needed to get that out. Grossi, and today we are going to be breaking down the Green Bay Packers' loss to the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday Night Football with a score of 40-33. And of course, we're going to take a look at what this means for the Green Bay Packers, who now fall to 4-8. Aaron Rodgers getting injured tonight. We saw a little bit of Jordan Love. The run defense of the Packers, absolutely abysmal, and kind of just what the rest of the season looks like from here. So let's start off with the Packers offense. Aaron Rodgers going 11 for 16, 140 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 1 interception bouncing off a defender's helmet and getting picked. The second one was just a bad read by Rodgers, though Rodgers talking about how people were just missing routes tonight and was sacked 3 times. Now, Aaron Rodgers in his post-game press conference talked about how in the first half he suffered a rib injury. It was not an oblique injury, and then it was re-aggravated in the third quarter. He had some worries that it was a punctured lung because he was having trouble breathing. He couldn't really turn when throwing the football, so he went off to the locker room, and that was it for the rest of the night for Aaron Rodgers. He said that he did not expect to miss any other time or miss the rest of the season. They were going to do tests tomorrow, so we'll kind of wait and see. When asked about if this is going to shut him down for the rest of the year or if he anticipates not playing the rest of the year, he says, as long as we're not mathematically eliminated, I'd like to be out there. After that, he'd be open to having some conversations with the organization, as I imagine the organization, once they're eliminated from the playoffs, wants to get a good look at Jordan Love, which they were able to get a very small sample size this evening. Speaking of Jordan Love, came in, went 6 for 9, 113 yards, 1 touchdown. And as I've said about Jordan Love this entire time, for years, since we've drafted him, nobody knows what we have in Jordan Love because the sample size that we have is so small. We have seen him in preseason games, but we barely seen him play an entire preseason because the first year there was COVID. The second year he got hurt. And the third year we finally saw some this past preseason and we saw some development there. He played 1 game against the Kansas City Chiefs on a short notice week because Aaron Rodgers got COVID last year and he didn't really look too good. Started coming around a little bit near the end of that game, playing in Arrowhead. But the point is that nobody knows. He came out tonight. It looked really good, was throwing the ball well, connected with Christian Watson, who had a very big touchdown, and that was great to see. I would be interested in seeing what Jordan Love has, but as Aaron Rodgers has said, and what I think the franchise is saying, is Matt LaFleur also reflected this in his postgame, the anticipation is that Aaron Rodgers is going to be out there, because technically, mathematically, they are not eliminated from the playoffs. So while this very small sample size of Jordan Love, it was good, we need to see more. Now, the Packers will play the Bears next week. If they lose to them, then they're pretty much going to be out, followed by a bye week. But Aaron was talking about in his post-game press conference, listen, we need to win 1, then we have a bye, then we could potentially win some others and get some help. And who knows in a crazy NFC, but if the Packers defense that showed up tonight shows up, they're going to get smacked in the playoffs. But let's not even get to that yet. We're talking about Jordan Love for a hot second and saying he looked good. I'd like to see more of him because the Packers need to make a decision at the end of this season on his 5th-year option. So we'll kind of see how the rest of the year plans out. Meanwhile, A.J. Dillon, 8 for 64, 1 touchdown, had 3 receptions for 24 yards. Aaron Jones, 12 for 43, had 3 receptions for 56 yards and a touchdown. Christian Watson, 4 receptions for over 100 yards, 1 touchdown, had a long of over 60 yards, and this is now TD number 6 in 3 games. Christian Watson was getting his praises sung, not only by Matt LaFleur, but also Aaron Rodgers in their post-game press conferences. You just see the confidence that is there. He's become a deep threat. He's got so much speed, and again, these past 3 games, you've really seen why the Packers were interested in trading up for him in the second round of this past draft. And that's pretty much where the good news ends for the Packers. Looking at the offense, besides the bad turnovers, they were 1 for 7 on third down. and they were just outmatched with pretty much everything on defense. The one bright spot is special teams, and that's Keyshawn Nixon, who had some really nice returns today. His first return did not look so good, and I was a little bit nervous about that, but had 5 returns for 172 yards, including a 53-yard return. So that was good news. And after not having a returner for so long, just having Aaron Rodgers back there, it seems like they found somebody in Keyshawn Nixon. So that's the good news. But the defense, yeah, that was brutal. A total of 363 rushing yards on the Packers defense tonight. Jalen Hurts went 16 for 25, had 153 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, was sacked 2 times, 17 rushes for 157 yards. Meanwhile, Miles Sanders carried the ball 21 times, 143 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Absolutely abysmal run defense from the Packers, who have been abysmal for the past 6 games. And altogether, with 49 attempts, 363 yards, 3 touchdowns, averaged about 7.4 yards per attempt, which is absolutely abysmal. How did this impact the game? Well, time possession, Eagles 35 minutes to the Packers 24 minutes. Number of plays, Eagles ran 79 plays, the Packers ran 49 plays, a difference of 30 plays. And where do you begin with this? Joe Barry, 1, most definitely. 2, there was no pass rush whatsoever. They did get after Jalen Hurts a couple of times, but the Eagles have a good offensive line, but I feel like I'm saying the same exact thing every single week, that we just have no pass rushers right now. In addition, missing Devondre Campbell over the middle. In addition, the secondary looked bad. Whether they were playing off receivers or the fact that they were just getting burned out there, Jalen Hurts basically seemed like he could do whatever the hell he wanted. He honestly looked like Colin Kaepernick from a couple of years ago, running all over the Green Bay Packers during that divisional game. Matt LaFleur spoke about this in the press conference, that they marked down that the Packers defense had 15 missed tackles. And you just can't win football games like that. It looked at some points like the defense was flat up giving up on run defense. They didn't want to be physical, they didn't want to be aggressive, and they were just allowing Jalen Hurts or Miles Sanders or whoever that was carrying the ball just run past them and just like reaching out and trying to make a stop. And quite frankly, it was a little bit embarrassing. Considering how good this defense was supposed to be, Joe Barry is not the answer. Players are not executing. And you look at that defense, especially that secondary, especially the safety unit, Adrian Amos is probably not going to be on the team next year. And on top of that, Darnell Savage, he's not the answer either. So lots of questions that are going to be happening there. And a secondary that was supposed to be one of the best in the league has honestly just not looked great this season. So besides the 500 total yards that the Philadelphia Eagles put up on the Packers, where do we go from here? Well, as I said, we are 4-8 right now. We have a handful of games remaining on the schedule. We still have our bye week, and the Packers are going to need to win their remaining 5 games for them to even have a prayer. But I gotta be honest, I will never advocate for tanking here. I want to see the Packers win every single week, but the Packers cannot be consistent. And it's in the game. When their offense plays well, the defense can't do anything. When the defense makes a stop, the offense can't get anything going. And again, the Eagles are the #1 seed in the NFC. They're a good football team. But at some point, there has to be somebody held accountable for this. Whether it's players, whether it's personnel, whether it's a mix of all of them. But the Packers have not put together 4 quarters of football this entire season. And it's so frustrating to watch. And so now we take on the Bears next week at 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll see how that game goes. If Justin Fields is playing, he's probably going to run all over us. And if the Packers lose that game, then I imagine that you're going to see Jordan Love start for the rest of the season. But we're going to have to kind of wait and see. A bright spot, Keyshawn Nixon. Jordan Love looked good with his limited reps there. Hopefully we continue to see some growth if he gets some playing time. But for right now, a disappointing end to what has been a disappointing season for the Green Bay Packers. And we're 4-8. Before we get out of here, I want to do a big shout and thank you to some brand new patrons and YouTube members. Over on the Patreon side of things, we have Kelly Heft and Ben Gilbert. A big shout out and thank you to you. And over on the YouTube side of things, joining the Grossi Posse Plus, we have Sarah Johnson, we have Devon Davis, we have Ricky Worley, we have Marvel Teen 15, Emma Peach, Melissa Herron, we have Walker McCain, Kate Meany, we have Richard Ha, Joshua Klon, we have Chase Pugh, and Mighty Sasquatch. A big shout out and thank you to you all. But folks, let me know what you think down in the comments below. How'd you feel about Jordan Love? How'd you feel about our offense's performance? How do you feel about our defense? Let me know what you think. You guys find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or TomGrossiComedy, all social media, see down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout and thank you to all the patrons over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy and the YouTube members. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.